it's Mandy, and this morning we are talking about tenant screening. Tenant screening is one of the most important things that you will do if you have a rental property. It's the difference between making money and losing money. The difference between a more or less passive income source and heartbreak and stress and sinking lots of money into repairs, possibly even an eviction. So you want to make sure that you put time and effort into screening and that you do it correctly. So first, you want to be aware of what's considered discrimination and what you are not allowed to screen against. There are 7 things, and you just want to completely avoid these topics at all. You can't ask any questions, you can't broach the subject of anything dealing with these 7 things. So they're race, ethnicity, religion, age, family status, did I say disability? I don't think so. Disability and citizenship status. So you just don't talk about any of those things, don't bring them up. Even things that you think are kind of harmless and just conversational, like how many kids do you have, you cannot ask that. You can ask how many, and you should ask, how many occupants would be living in the unit, but you can't ask specifically how many kids. Another one, like the age one, so that's anyone who's a legal adult, 18 and older. You cannot discriminate against age at that point. So say someone who's like 70, you can't discriminate because they're considered a senior citizen. Best practice. So best practice with tenant screening would be to keep the process as standard as possible. You want to have one application that every single potential tenant fills out, and you want the questions to be, standard to avoid anything that is considered discrimination. You would never go outside of the application. So never consider anyone who hasn't filled out your application. That's just going to help to protect you better. And then also, you want to have a list written out of your personal criteria. That way, if anyone ever comes at you for discrimination, you can say, look, this is my list that I use to determine whether or not you meet my criteria for a tenant, and you didn't meet this or this or this. And so there's no way that they could claim that you're discriminating if you use that list for every single tenant. Alright, so red flags of tenant screening. And these are things that I've just learned that if these are true for the tenant, then 9 times out of 10 it's going to work out very poorly for me, and my property is not going to be well taken care of. So number 1, if they do not have 3 times the income, I need to be able to see that they are going to be able to pay their rent and their bills. I don't care where the income comes from. I'm not going to discriminate on the income source, but I want to be able to know that their bills are going to be taken care of. And I've had people say to me before, well, it's not really any of your business if they can pay their bills. It is my business, because if their water gets shut off or their electricity gets shut off, that's a pretty big indication that they're not going to be taking great care of my house. Number 2, if they smoke or vape, I will not rent to them. Now, I have a lot of people fill out applications and they say, I smoke, but I only smoke outside. I don't really believe them, for one thing. I feel like we have pretty harsh winters, and I just think it's going to be difficult for somebody to choose to go outside in the freezing cold and smoke when they could just do it inside. But also, even if they do only smoke outside, that smell's going to come in the house. And while the smell of smoke is not impossible to get out of a house, it is difficult. And then if you've ever been in a house where there's been heavy smoking, the walls are just stained and gross. So I don't rent to people who smoke. Number 3 is pets. So I have 2 hard requirements on pets. 1, that they do not have more than 3 pets. If they have more than 3, I don't rent to them. And the other thing is if the pets are younger than 6 months, because there's no way that they're potty trained if they're under 6 months. Number 4, if they've ever had an eviction. there's no exceptions to this, no ands, no buts. Like, if they've had an eviction, I will not rent to them. Number 5, if they have a bad rental history. Same thing there. I don't care, like, what their excuse is. If I call up their old landlord and they're like, look, they didn't pay their rent on time, they left the place trashed, I'm not going to be the one to give them a second chance. They should have taken better care of their last property. Number 6, if they're needing to move in immediately, like same day as the showing, they are trying to shove the money in my face and move into the property, that's a red flag. That means that for whatever reason, they are needing to get out of their current situation really badly and really quickly. So that could be a sign that they're getting kicked out of their current place, or even that they're in the middle of an eviction right now. And what I'll say there is I never let anybody move in the same day as the showing. So if they're wanting to move in that day, it's just not possible. And the last thing, but this is a really important thing, is they don't have the money to pay the deposit. Either they want to kind of like defer it and pay it in increments along with their rent monthly, or they would want you to like lower the deposit amount or something like that. I make no exceptions for the deposit. The deposit is my security that they're going to take good care of the property. If they don't pay a deposit, or they pay a very small deposit, there's no incentive for them to take care of the place. So I don't make exceptions on the deposit. Also, I found that if you say, well, okay, that's fine, you can pay half now and half next month, you're probably never going to see the other half of the deposit. Another thing to think about is they're essentially asking you to kind of like loan them that money, right, for the deposit. But if they don't have a best friend or a mom or a brother or sister that's willing to loan them the money for the deposit, why should I trust them? I don't even know them. If they don't have the money to pay the deposit, like, it's just not a good sign, and it's probably not going to work out well for you. There are so many great tenants out there that I would advise you that if they have any of these red flags, just wait a little bit longer, take a little bit more time, wait till you find that perfect tenant. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something. Please like and subscribe. Let me know what videos you'd like to see in the future. We recently bought a new property. I could show you a tour of that property. I could tell you like my story, how I got started into real estate. I don't know. Just let me know what you'd like to see next. And thanks. Bye.